As Zarathustra crossed over the great bridge one day, the cripples and the beggars surrounded him, and a hunchback spoke thus to him.
"Behold, Zarathustra! The people, too, learn from you, and they're gaining faith in your teaching. But in order to believe you completely, they need just one more thing. You must first persuade us cripples. Here you have a fine selection and truly an opportunity with more than one scruff. You can heal the blind and make the lame walk. And for the one who has too much behind him, surely you could take away a little. That, I believe, would be the right way to make the cripples believe in Zarathustra."
Zarathustra, however, responded to the speaker thus: "If one takes the hump from the hunchback, then one takes his spirit also. Thus teach the people. And if one gives the blind man his eyesight, then he sees too many bad things on earth, such that he curses the one who healed him. But the one who makes the lame walk causes him the greatest harm. For scarcely does he begin to walk when his vices run away with him. Thus teach the people about the cripples. And why should Zarathustra not also learn from the people, if the people learn from Zarathustra? But it is the least thing to me, since I have been among human beings, when I see this one is missing an eye, and that one an ear, and the third one a leg. And there are others who lost their tongue, or their nose, or their head. I see and have seen worse. And some of it so hideous that I do not want to speak of everything. And even a few things that I do not even want to remain silent about. Namely, human beings who are missing everything except the one thing that they have too much of. Human beings who are nothing more than one big eye, or one big maw, or one big belly, or some other big thing. Inverse cripples I call such types. And as I came out of my solitude and crossed over this bridge the first time, then I didn't believe my eyes, and I looked again, and said at last, "That is an ear as big as a person." And I looked more closely, and really, beneath the ear, something was moving that was pitifully small and pathetic and thin. And in truth, the gigantic ear sat upon a little slender stalk. But the stalk was a human being. If one used a magnifying glass, one could even recognize a tiny, envious, miniature face, even a bloated little soul dangling on the stalk. But the people told me that the big ear was not only a human being, but a great human being. A genius. But I have never believed the people when they speak of great human beings. And I maintain my belief that it was an inverse cripple who had too little of everything and too much of one thing. When Zarathustra had spoken thus to the hunchback and to those for whom he had served as a mouthpiece and advocate, he turned deeply upset to his disciples and said, "Truly, my friends, I walk among human beings as among the fragments and limbs of human beings. This is what is most frightening to my eyes, that I find mankind in ruins and scattered about as if on a battlefield or a butcher field. And if my gaze flees from the now to the past, it always finds the same fragments and limbs and grisly accidents, but no human beings. The now and the past on earth, alas, my friends, that is what is most unbearable to me. And I would not know how to live if I were not also a seer of that which must come. A seer, a willer, a creator, a future himself, and a bridge to the future. And alas, at the same time a cripple at this bridge. All that is Zarathustra. And you too asked yourselves often, who is Zarathustra to us? How shall he be known to us? And like me, you gave yourselves questions for answers. Is he a promiser or a fulfiller? A conqueror or an inheritor? An autumn or a plow? A physician? A convalescent? Is he a poet or is he a truthful man? Is he a liberator or a tamer? A good man or an evil man? Oh, I walk among human beings as among the fragments of the future. That future that I see. And all my creating and striving amounts to this, that I create and piece together into one what is now fragment and riddle and grisly accident. And how could I bear to be a human being if mankind were not also a creator and solver of riddles and redeemer of accidents? To redeem those who are the past and to recreate all it was into thus I willed it. Only that would I call redemption. Will. Thus the liberator and joybringer is called. Thus I taught you, my friends. And now learn this in addition. The will itself is still a prisoner. Willing does liberate, but what is that called which claps even the liberator in chains? It's called it was. That is the will's gnashing of teeth and loneliest misery. Impotent against that which has been, it is an angry spectator of everything past. The will cannot will backwards, that it cannot break time and time's greed. That is the will's loneliest misery. Willing liberates. But what does willing plan in order to rid itself of its misery and mock its dungeon? Alas, every prisoner becomes a fool. Foolishly as well, the imprisoned will redeems itself. That time does not run backwards, that is its wrath. That which was, thus the stone is called, which it cannot roll aside. And so it rolls stones around out of wrath and annoyance, and wreaks revenge on that which does not feel wrath and annoyance as it does. Thus the will, the liberator, became a doer of harm, and on everything that is capable of suffering, it avenges itself for not being able to go back. This, yes, this alone is revenge itself, the will's unwillingness towards time, and time's it was. Indeed, a great folly lives in our will, and it became the curse of all humankind that this folly acquired spirit. What is the spirit of revenge? My friends, that so far has been what man has contemplated best. And wherever there was suffering, punishment was always supposed to be there as well. For punishment is what revenge calls itself. With a lying word, it hypocritically asserts its good conscience. And because in willing itself there is suffering, based on its inability to will backwards, thus, all willing itself and all living is supposed to be punishment. And now cloud upon cloud rolled in over the spirit, until at last madness preached. Everything passes away, therefore everything deserves to pass away. And this itself is justice, this law of time, that it must devour its own children. Thus preached madness. All things are ordained ethically, according to justice and punishment. Alas, where is redemption from the flux of things? Thus preached madness. Can there be redemption if there is eternal justice? Alas, the stone it was is unmovable. All punishments, therefore, must too be eternal. Thus preached madness. No deed can be annihilated. How could it be undone through punishment? This is what is eternal about the punishment called existence. That existence must also eternally be deed and guilt again. Unless the will were to finally redeem itself and willing became not willing. But my brothers, you know this fable song of madness. Away from these fable songs I steered you when I taught you. The will is a creator. All it was is a fragment, a riddle, a grisly accident, until the creating will says to it, "But I will it thus. I shall will it thus." But has it ever spoken thus? And when will this happen? Is the will already unharnessed from its own folly? Has the will already become its own redeemer and joy-bringer? Has it unlearned the spirit of revenge and all gnashing of teeth? And who taught it reconciliation with time? And what is higher than any reconciliation? That will, which is the will to power, must will something higher than any reconciliation. But how shall this happen? Who would teach it to also will backwards? But at this point in his speech, Zarathustra suddenly broke off and looked entirely like one who is appalled in the extreme. Appalled, he looked at his disciples. His eyes penetrated their thoughts and their secret thoughts as if with arrows. But after a little while he laughed again and said more calmly, "It's difficult to live with people, because keeping silent is so hard, especially for a babbler." Thus spoke Zarathustra. The hunchback, meanwhile, had listened to the conversation with his face covered. But when he heard Zarathustra laugh, he looked up inquisitively and slowly said, "But why does Zarathustra speak otherwise to us than to his disciples?" Zarathustra answered, "What's to wonder about in that? One is allowed to speak hunched with hunchbacks." "Good," said the hunchback. "And with pupils one may tell tales out of school. But why does Zarathustra speak otherwise to his pupils than to himself?"